Good morning. Welcome to Crocker's Crazy Living. If you're new, welcome to my kitchen. If you've been with me for a while, thank you for coming back. Today is Tuesday, July 23rd, I believe. I haven't been looking at the calendar, honestly. Today we are going to make baked beans. We're going to can baked beans in a jar. Now, I have never done baked beans in a jar, and I've watched over the weekend several people on YouTube making different kinds of baked beans and canning them in a jar. So I finally, after watching 15 videos, I finally settled on a lady that I believe had the best looking baked beans in the quart jar, and she used onions and all kinds of really, really good stuff. So I'm kind of excited to get these baked beans going. So today I'm using Great Northern beans. I got 4 pounds of beans. I did not soak them overnight. I put them in my big stock pot with cold water. I brought them up to a boil, and then I boiled them for 3 minutes, and then I turned off the burner and let them sit for 1 hour. That's the quick soak method. Some people do Rebel style, and they just put the dry beans right in the jar. But most people I was watching over the weekend, they soak their beans and or cook their beans. So I just decided that I would go ahead and do the quick soak method and see how they turn out. So I'm going to get my other stock pot out and show you how to make the sauce. I think I'm going to need my stock pot instead of my Dutch oven. Just want to make sure this is clean. I mean, I wash everything before I store it, but then, when you store stuff, sometimes things get dusty or whatnot. All right, so here's my pot I'm going to use. Try to tip you down a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. This recipe I found was a pretty decent recipe, I felt. It looked really good. So here's, just trying new things. It has Worcestershire sauce in it. I'm going to put that one aside. Molasses. She used liquid smoke. I don't like liquid smoke, so I'm not using that. Worcestershire sauce, molasses, dried ground mustard, but you could use regular mustard. I might use a combination of both. She used apple cider vinegar. Tomato juice. She had homemade tomato juice. Onion powder. Here's my onion powder. Salt and pepper to taste, but she used like a teaspoon of pepper and 2 teaspoons of salt. So I'll get those out. The vinegar was brown sugar. I should have had all these things out and together. I should have had all of this stuff ready to go. I just wasn't thinking. I was getting too anxious, I think. Onion powder. And then I gotta chop up some onions. I have sweet onions. I don't want that one. I got a bag of sweet onions. I'm going to pull out like 4 medium. Of course, she had homegrown onions. These people up north, they have their gardens. That's a large onion, so maybe I'll just do 3 large. These people up north that have big gardens, they grow their own onions and potatoes and everything. Well, me being down here in Florida, I don't know if it's cold enough to do potatoes and onions. It might be, but I haven't tried it. Nor do I have the space outside for it in my yard. All right, so to this pot, I am going to do 1 quart of tomato juice. One quart of tomato juice she poured in the pot. And then she said you could leave the tomato juice out if you wanted to, but I'm making her recipe the way she made it. She said you could use tomato paste or tomato powder. She used 2 quarts of water to her 1 quart of tomato juice. Oops. Okay, then she used 2/3 of a cup Where's my quarter cup? Why have I lost my quarter cup? She used 2/3 of a cup of brown sugar 3 times. 3 times. And she did not pack it. She just put 3 2/3 cup measure of brown sugar in her pot. I gotta get my measuring spoons. She used 1/4 cup of vinegar, but I can't find my 1/4 cup, so I'm just going to use 1/3 of a cup. I like vinegar, so that should be okay. That shouldn't hurt nothing. Apple cider vinegar. 8 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Try to get this. This is a brand new bottle I just went and bought because I didn't have enough. If I can get the plastic off, good grief. Golly, that is really tough. Can't get that off of there. I am going to measure this Worcestershire sauce by tablespoon, but I'm gonna put it into a measuring cup so I can convert it into cups or ounces, as opposed to having to stand here every time I want to make these and measure out 8 tablespoons. 1. Right, there's almost 8 tablespoons. Good thing I bought one because I wouldn't have had enough. I think she actually used 9 tablespoons because she said in the recipe that she started with 8, but then she added another couple of tablespoons. So I'm going to go 9.5 because I had to make up for what I didn't have on that other little spoonful. So I'm going to write that down. 9 tablespoons, which is equivalent to a half a cup. I'm going to write down half a cup of Worcestershire sauce. Shoot. Can I write it? A half a cup. Okay. It just makes it easier for me another time if I were to make this, that I don't have to figure all that out. So a half a cup of Worcestershire sauce. Wipe that. I already wiped it off. We got the brown sugar, Worcestershire sauce, the vinegar. We need 2/3 of a cup, 3 times again, of molasses. So it's equal amount brown sugar, equal amount molasses. Wipe out my cup a little bit. And I went and bought me another bottle of this because I wasn't sure how much I was going to get in a jar. And I'm glad that I did because I need more. Alright, let me get my new jar. That's going to make a mess. That's okay, I'll clean that up. Let me get the spatula. I'm going to need that to clean out my... She did say in the recipe you can use sorghum if you want. I do have sorghum, but I didn't want to use it for this, so I just went to the store and bought Grandma's old-fashioned molasses. That works just fine. All right. Get a paper plate to put my dirty spatula on. So I already have my beans par cooked or soaked and rinsed, drained and rinsed. So that's all set to go. I'll rinse this out later. Oh, there's still molasses in there. I'm going to put the lid on it and set it upside down and then just add that little bit of molasses left. Okay, 1 tablespoon of onion powder. Maybe just a little bit more. I like onion powder. 6 tablespoons of mustard powder, which I had to go buy a new one. Or you could use prepared mustard, yellow mustard, or you could use a combination of both. I'm going to put this in a little dish so it's easier for me to measure, as my spoons don't go inside these bottles. Some people buy this stuff in bulk. I don't have any place that I can buy this stuff in bulk. All right, so what do I need now? 6 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a pinch. So that was really a pretty good guess. And that was almost this whole jar. I mean, I've got that much in the jar left over from that. So that was pretty good. So I might have to make sure I have at least one bottle. All right, so I'm going to use 2 teaspoons of salt. She used 1 teaspoon of pepper. And that's it. She just whisked everything together. Where's my whisk? Where's my big whisk? Oh, here it is. It's hiding behind my mixer whisk. So we're just going to whisk all of this stuff together. And we're going to get it on the stove. And we're going to get it cooking. Trying to mix it all together really well. I'm going to throw that little bit extra molasses in there, so this will be done. I can wash out my jar. So that was a whole jar. It's like a jar and a third, or a jar and a quarter of molasses. I would like to be able to buy that stuff in bulk or get it cheaper somewhere, because it gets expensive. A jar of molasses anymore is $4 and something a jar. It was $4.69 at my Winn-Dixie store. Next time I'll have to try to go to Walmart and see what their prices are like. If I was thinking ahead, that would have been a good thing, but I don't. I fly with my canning sometimes by the seat of my pants, because I find something I want to make, and then I just go get all the stuff and make it. I don't think about, okay, well, maybe I should go to this store and get a better price, or I should do this or that. I run and grab, and I need to start thinking ahead of time, just because it gets expensive. But I got myself this new canner, this new pressure canner, and I've been so happy trying to use it that I've just been wanting to can everything I can get my hands on. Never did beans before, so I want to do beans. I never did canned chicken before, so I wanted to do chicken. I mean, I had some of my must-haves. I had to do barbecue sauce, I had to do jelly. I had to do potatoes because I loved doing my potatoes last time and I ran out. So I needed to do more potatoes. So I got that done. My friend thinks I'm a little crazy. Because I can and 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 I'm running out of space. My storage is getting a little bit low. I might do, even though I did that dry mustard, I'm gonna go ahead and just put a squirt of yellow mustard because I like yellow mustard. I know that the dry mustard is more concentrated. But when we make baked beans, as a norm, when my son makes baked beans, we put mustard, a lot of mustard in it. And I use barbecue sauce in my baked bean. I put all kinds of stuff in it. This does smell really good though. I'll taste it when it gets hot for seasonings because I like it. That's sweet. It's not overly sweet. I need a little bit more brown sugar. I'm going to get my chopper out since I've got to cut more than one onion. It's easier using my handy dandy chop thing. Where's the lid? Where's the lid to it? All right. I like this chopper thingy because it cuts everything, chops everything nice and I got this blade, so it's gonna chop it uniformly. Let me get my cutting board. Sharp knife. Move this aside. These are Vidalia onions. I got a nice sized bag of them at Costco for $4.49. I think that was a good deal. Onions are kind of... Now I know that when people grow onions, they store them for a very long time. part of that onion was kind of, this piece here was kind of withered a little bit. And when you have sweet onions, even if you have hot onions, and you peel them and you put them in this chopper thing, you cry a lot less. But people say if you don't want, oh shoot, if you cry really bad, there's something in the onion that makes you do that. But I've been told that if you run water or you have a bowl of water nearby, it won't do that. I've tried that, and I have not gotten that to work. So I don't know about that. I can't seem to. I don't see any difference sometimes. So now what I'm going to do with these onions is I'm just going to cut them in thick slices. So when I put them on my chopper, they will, sorry if you're getting jostled around on my stand. They will cut in there, and there'll be a little bit more uniform chunks of onion than just cutting the onion in half and smacking it in there. I want a little bit more uniform onion in my beans, since we're going to be adding this to the jar. I wanted to buy me another one of these choppers because I love it so much, and it's starting to get stress cracks. So one of these days it's gonna just break on me. But I got it from QVC and they don't have it anymore. So I'll just have to go with an ordinary slap chop, I guess. I love this one because it has this big bowl. And you can do a whole bunch of stuff in here at one time, instead of just a little tiny little rectangle thing. And you gotta dump it out every time you cut something. See, I just did those 3 big onions, and there's still room in here to cut a whole bunch more stuff. That's what I like about this. So see, here's my onions, all nice and cut up, very uniform. I like that. It works great, especially if you're doing recipes or something like I'm doing. All right, so I got that. I'm going to, oh shoot, I'm gonna pour water all over the floor from my cutting mat there, just all over all down the sink or counter, all over the floor. Whew. All right, I'm gonna get some jars. Now I'm gonna try to pause you and hope that I can get you back. Every time I pause you, I have a problem with trying to bring you back. I gotta find some quart jars. Those are jars I can't use. Alright, I don't have any quart jars in there. I gotta go outside. I have some sitting out here, and I gotta clean them. Oh, I hear some clean quart jars. There we go. Did that earlier. running out of stuff here. I gotta move this out of the way so I can get to my sink to clean my jars. Let me give this a stir. Smells good. Let's see how it turns out. Maybe I can bring you up a little bit so you can see my stove. And then go right out the door and get my jars. These jars were stored in my shed. They were already cleaned and they were stored upside down, which was a good thing. I see this is a very old ring. See how old it is? I'm going to toss that one. That's amazing. I need 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Most of these ones was given to me, and they're actually Atlas canning jars. It says Atlas on the back. All right, I gotta soak this one. Some of these jars were gifted to me. My husband's cousin, my husband's cousin was cleaning out her garage, and she had like 2 or 3 cases of jars that she no longer wanted stored. So when we went up there for a family reunion, she said, "Would you like some jars? I'm trying to get rid of them." Of course I said absolutely. So we went by and she loaded me up with jars. But you don't know how fast you can go through jars, honestly. You can go through a lot of jars fast. Especially with all my canning I'm doing. I think these, they're quart jars, but they're a little bit smaller. They're not as tall as the regular ones. I don't know, maybe if that was just the age, because of the age of the jar. I don't know. Alright, so I got me a cleaner here, brush. I wish I had more wide mouth jars because I actually like the wide mouth jars better because I can get my hand right down in there and scrub them out really good. But all I have right now is a brush to use. So if you've never canned before, and you want to try it, I hope that you do what I did and just do some research. Get yourself a good canning book that's up to date. Watch other people on YouTube. That's what I did. And there's all kinds of recipes for different things. all kinds of people out there doing stuff. If you like my page and you like what you see on my page, I use some old jars. This is a nice old Eagle jar. I don't think you can see it. It actually says Eagle Mason. If you like what you see on my page and you like the way I do my stuff, I'm not no expert on anything. I've been canning for over 37 years. I started canning with a friend of mine. Her and her husband got a canner, and they wanted, back then we had all kinds of pig farms around us, and we went and we picked bushels and bushels and bushels of tomatoes. We made all kinds of tomato stuff, and I think I was like 21, 22 years old when they were doing that, and I was over there helping them. I was learning with them because I didn't know nothing about canning. And my mother-in-law cans, but she's a Rebel canner because she doesn't have a pressure canner. Or she doesn't use a pressure canner. I do. I do everything the way they say to. I've had bad luck in my past with stuff. Not sealing correctly. And I did everything right. It's just that something, I don't know, something happened and it wasn't going to can up correctly. And I had a mess on my hands. And I said to myself, never again, I'll do it the correct way. Some people can Rebel can and it's fine. Some people cannot. Me, I cannot. And I don't know if it's the chemistry of my body, or what, because I did, like I say, I did everything correctly. But if you enjoy my page and you like what you see and you have not yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe button below. Give me a thumbs up, ring the bell. You will be notified by that bell whenever I'm posting anything. You'll be notified that I posted something new. What did she? I think she put a 1/4 cup. Let me check the recipe. I think she put a 1/4 cup of onions. Yep, 1/4 cup of chopped onion into each jar. So I'm just gonna get my rings and lids here and rinse them really good. I need 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Give this a stir. Oh, that's starting to really smell good now. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit. I had it on like medium-low because I didn't want it to start rapidly boiling. And while that's going, I'm going to get my 4-cup measuring cup and I'm going to put 3 quarts of water in my canner. This canner's getting a workout. Every canner, pressure canner, needs so much water. My manual said 3 quarts of water in the bottom of the canner. And yesterday, since I did 2 batches of chicken, I had to kind of eyeball it, I didn't want to dump it all out and start over, but I I definitely needed to add water to it. All right, so I got 3 quarts of water in there. And what else do I got to do? Oh, I need a glug of vinegar. I bought myself a small bottle of distilled white vinegar. I don't use a lot of distilled white vinegar, but they should say that you should use the distilled vinegar for the bottom of your canner because it's clear. And when I used the vinegar to clean off the tops of my jars, I was using apple cider vinegar. And that's okay, but it's a little sweeter than regular plain vinegar. So it could hinder if it wanted to, but it did not. The only issue I had yesterday was that jar. I had a nick in the jar, which I better check these jars right now before I get too into it. I have to replace jars. I even taught my girls, you know, when you're buying jars at the thrift store, make sure to run your finger around the rim to make sure there's no blemishes, no nicks, breaks, cracks. And then yesterday I failed to do that with my chicken, and I had one jar of chicken that did not seal, and it was because it had a nick in the side of, in the top of the lid. Yep, these are nice and smooth. No nicks, no nothing. I don't know. It's a little nick there. I'll try it. It's not in the top, it's right on the edge. The other one was like broke on the right on the top, and then went down to the side of the jar. So I'm thinking, do I use this one? Do I chance it? So because it's right there, yeah, maybe I'll just throw this one in my recycling. Or I could use it for dry goods. I could put some rice or pasta or something in it and use it that way. Just wondering if I should chance it. I don't think I'm gonna chance it. All right, so I'm gonna put this jar aside. Maybe I'll just put it back out in the box where I got it from, grab another jar. Alright, this one's a wide mouth jar I found. I'll wash this one up real quick. I do not reuse. I've seen now with these people that do this Rebel canning, some people say that they reuse the vacuum seal rings, lids. I don't know how you could do that. I don't do that. A lot of people take these rings off their jars when they're done canning to store them. I can't do that. Sometimes I don't use a whole jar of something, and then if I don't have the ring on there, then I don't have a lid. It won't stay on the jar without the ring. So I know a lot of people do that. I can't do that. All right. I cannot do that because I have to have the ring. Plus, where I store them. I don't have a great big garage or a cellar or something with a really big, or really big. Where did I put my other lids yesterday? I don't have something with a really big shelf that I can just store all my stuff. So the way I have to store things, I don't have the luxury of keeping everything the way it should be. Sometimes, what did I do with that other? I don't know. I had a whole box of large lids yesterday, and that I just opened. They gotta be laying here somewhere. I've got a towel laying here. I got, oh, here they are. Yeah, I had something sitting on top of it, of course. All right, the sauce is getting really hot now. It's starting to kind of like bubble. Oh yeah. I don't want it to boil, but I want it to be nice and hot. I'm going to get me another towel to set on the table so I can put that pot on here. I don't need this. It smells delicious. It really does. Put this over here. You can smell that mustard. I hope I didn't put too much mustard in there. You can really smell it. And to me, dry mustard almost smells like horseradish. I don't know why. I'm going to get a spoon. I'm going to taste it. It's going to be hot. Oh, that's good. It's definitely got a mustard kick. I think I'm gonna take some ketchup that I had. You know, like I got a little bit of ketchup here. Turn you back this way. A little bit of ketchup left in this bottle. I'm just gonna dump that in there and stir it around. I don't think it needs any more brown sugar. And of course, everything is to your taste. I mean, I start out with a basic recipe, and then I end up tweaking things, because that's just what I do. So I'm just going to add, that was probably a half a cup or so of ketchup, because the ketchup is sweet, and because I didn't know if I could actually use ketchup as a base instead of the tomato juice. I used tomato juice because that's what she used. Ketchup doesn't really need to be cooked. Before I start jarring this up, I'm going to go ahead and get my canner. I'm wondering if I should try this burner, because I had my canner on my huge burner, but I'm wondering if that burner is too big for the canner, actually, because even though I have it on low, it wants to still come up kind of high on my poundage. It wants to go 15, up to 15 pounds on my canner. Let's taste it again. I think it needs more ketchup. All right, so see, I have this much ketchup left, plus that little blob that I put in there. So I bet this is going to be probably about a cup of ketchup. So now I'm going to write this down that I'm changing the recipe. And I'm adding ketchup. I don't know if 2 quarts of water is too much. But that's what she said, so. She said 2 quarts of water to a quart of tomato juice. I would say if you were using a big can of tomato paste, that you would definitely need 2 quarts of water for tomato paste. But I'm following her recipe. All right, let's taste it again. The beans will swell. That's much better. I like that better. All right. So I'm going to get my canning funnel, if I can find it, in this mess. All right, where did I put it? I need my canning funnel. I put it away. Okay. All right, so 2. Oh, I better rinse that out a little bit better. To my I'm going to use my handy dandy strainer spoon. To my jar, I'm going to add enough beans to make, you know, I should measure these. Let me measure these because I want to know about how many cups I'm using. Where did my big cup go? All right, I have a 1 cup measuring cup here. That might be easier to scoop anyway. Okay, that looks about right. That's kind of looked what she did in her video. Maybe a little bit more. She doesn't really measure them either. Yeah. About, so that's 2 cups and a smidge. 2 cups and a smidge. And then she used a 1/4 cup of chopped onion to the top of the jar. Yep, and then she put her juice in there. So I'm going to do my things first. I'm going to get rid of this thing. There's a bean with a black mark. I did pretty good with these beans. I didn't have very many of them that were bad. Everybody says on these videos that you'll know a bad bean if it floats. Guess it varies on the size of your jar. Those onions are a little potent now. I can smell them. Wish I could pause you, but I'm afraid to because I'm afraid it's going to knock me off. And then I have to start over. I just tap the jars down a little bit just to kind of shake everything down there. Now, she did say that this recipe gave her 7 quarts. See, that jar was a little more narrow. Some of these older jars aren't as big. They're all quarts, but it's weird. It's kind of deceiving. This one looks bigger than a standard quart. She said she had 7 quarts and some for dinner in a pan. She didn't want to. Most of these canners you can only get 7 quarts into the canner at a time. So she said she had 7 quarts and then some that she was going to use for dinner. So we'll see. I don't know if I can get more than 7 quarts in my canner. I don't think I can. And then I thought, well, if I had extra and I don't want to cook them tonight, if I had some extra and I don't want to cook, then I could just can up a couple pints, because it doesn't really matter if you go, I mean, these jars, the quart jars, they can for 90 minutes. They can up for 90 minutes. See, I got more in there. They can for 90 minutes. There's enough for one more jar. I don't think I can get any more pints in there. That ring is really ugly and old. I'm not going to use that. Where's my other rag? All right, check the rim on this one. Yep, feels good. That was darn near perfect. I cut up way too many onions. Well, when I saw her with her onions on her page, she had one big onion and then she had some littler onions. Just going to divvy up the rest of these onions. It doesn't matter if we have extra onion. I like onion in my stuff. I'm not going to be able to use up all these onions though. So I'll have some extra chopped onion in the fridge. Not even enough to freeze. Don't stick that in there because you'll never get it out. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to fill these jars to 1 inch headspace. Let me get my little tool out I found. Where did it go? Found it this morning. There it is. All right. When you get canning supplies, most of the time stuff will come with tools, and if they don't come with tools, it's okay. I mean, all you gotta do is you can buy this set of tools if you want. This is a debubbling tool. It's plastic. It has people keep calling me. It has the debubbling tool on the end that you just put in there and stir stuff up, because it takes the air bubbles out of your jars. And then you have a headspace measuring thing right here. Right here. These are headspace measuring. And it's a little bit hard to read, but one is 1 inch headspace, 3/4, 1/2, 1/4. And if you don't know, you just put the thing in the jar, and if your food comes to the end of that right there is 1 inch headspace, right to here. But it shows you on the inside of the jar, because that's what it's supposed to do. So if you want a half, what was it? 3/4 inch headspace, you go to the next notch, and then half an inch, and then 1/4 of an inch. And every recipe will tell you how much headspace that you need to leave in the jar for what you're canning. Most of the time, it's 1 inch headspace. Now, if you're doing juices and stuff, it could be 1/4 inch. But for the most part, it's 1 inch headspace as a general rule. But that's pretty nifty to have. It also comes with a jar lifter. This is my old one, but I do have a blue one. I just don't know where I put it. It comes with a jar lifter. It comes with this. It comes with your food funnel, and it comes with a little metal stick. No, a plastic stick with a magnet on the end. So if a recipe says that you need to keep your lids, these lids, boiling hot, then you can keep them in hot water in a pan and lift them out with your magnet stick. I don't ever use that. I don't think I've ever used it, because most of the recipes I do, I don't bother with keeping them hot. Most of the recipes I do not require me to have my rings and stuff hot. So, okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this hot juice and I'm going to pour it, all over my hand, pour it into the jar to 1 inch headspace. I'm going to set that aside. Now, if I was really smart, I would just use my funnel. But if I go slow, it should be fine. And I like using, everybody uses these big ladles and stuff. I just like using my measuring cup. It's easy for me. I'm kind of excited about this. I'm really kind of excited to see how these are going to turn out. I always have a towel underneath me, where I'm working, because I'm a messy cook, messy baker, messy canner. I make messes. And if I have a towel or a big rag or something that I can just rinse out or throw in the wash machine, then that's what I do. At least you have fast forward on here. See, I'm not the kind of YouTube person that knows how to edit things yet. I don't know how to edit my videos. Everybody edits their videos. They put music on there. They speed stuff up, slow stuff down. I don't know how to do any of that. So if you get bored, I apologize. But I apologize for that, but you can fast forward me if you get bored with the process. All right, so now I used that lady's recipe, and I have all this juice. I have a lot left over. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. I mean, she used 1 quart of tomato juice to 2 quarts of water. So next time I only need 1 quart of tomato juice to 1 quart of water. I wonder if she didn't calculate that correctly, because she also said she was posting the recipe, and she did not have the recipe on her page. I looked for it because I figured if she had a recipe, I would have definitely printed that out. She used navy beans. I have Great Northern beans, and they're going to swell still, so I'm hoping they're not too full of beans. Sometimes when you do this too with the bubbler tool, it takes the air out of it, so you could probably use a little bit more. Did I do this one? You could use a little bit more juice to it. You could top it off. I'm definitely going to have to wipe these jars off. And those are full. I hope this goes well. Otherwise, I'm in trouble. Maybe I should have only did half the jar with beans. But, you know, I've been watching a lot of people. And they, even the lady that did pints the other night. Oops, shoot. I just broke my jar. Yep, just broke my jar. I don't dare keep this because I don't know if it broke in and went inside. There's the glass right there. I don't dare do that. Oh, I lost a jar already. I just barely touched the top of that rim with a different jar, and see how easy that breaks? I'll be able to top these off a little bit. Plus these are older jars, so they break easy sometimes. I get tired of buying jars though. Used to be jars were cheap to buy. They're not cheap anymore. All right, so I'm just going to top these off with a little bit more liquid because I can. And they're not going to take much. This one's going to take a little more. I hate to throw that out, but the glass didn't go in the jar because I found it on the table. But still, there could be little shards of glass in there. And I don't want to have a problem. So I'll just have to dump the contents out in the trash. And dump the contents out and throw the jar away. I got 2 jars to throw out. I decided I'm just going to throw them away. I'm not going to try to, I'm going to recycle them. I'm not going to try to save them for something else. You know, it's not going to pay to do that. They're already broken, so they're. Oh, don't have to worry about trying to squeeze in that one jar in my canner. All right, let me get some vinegar and a paper towel. Start cleaning these off. Might even have to rinse the jar a little bit. Well, wait until after these jars come out. I will have to, most likely, when they cool down, take a wet rag and wipe them down really good. So when I put them away, they're not sticky. Because sometimes if they siphon or things happen. Is this boiling? It's starting to. I'm going to turn that water down on low. I will take a wet rag or even wash them under water in the sink after they cool down so the jars aren't sticky. Because if there's siphoning that happens or something like that and it bubbles out of the jar during the processing time, I can wash the jar off and get all that sticky off of there. So it's a little sloppy with these jars. See how they got residue? That's why we got to wipe them off with the vinegar. Probably just did that one. Yep. I just keep getting cleaner parts of the paper towel every time I do that. All right. Let me wash this off again. Well, that's a bummer that I lost a jar. That's a bummer I lost a jar, but, you know, it's okay. Uh-oh. Don't tell me I'm going to have problems with these weird jars. Fingertip tight. These lids don't fit these weird jars. I'm not going to keep jars I can't use, that's for sure. All right, I gotta go find another jar. This is one of those older jars, Atlas Mason. The ring won't. Yeah. It's just a little smaller. That mouth on there is just a little smaller than these standard rings because it won't go on. It will not go on. So now I gotta find another jar. That's a jar I'll get rid of. If you can't use the rings and the lids that you have, it's not worth keeping. I had a couple of jars that were old antique, look like older antique kind of jars. And they have all this really cool measurements on the side of the jar. But I can't use them because nothing, no lid or ring fits them at all. That'll be my 7th one. I gotta go find a jar. Alright, I found me another jar, so I'm gonna have to wash this one out. When people have jars, like my mother-in-law has jars, and they're stored in her garage, and who knows if they're stored really well, you always gotta come home and scrub them out really good. I've gotten smarter with storing my jars. I don't know why I never thought of it before, but as I use my jars and I wash them out and I get them ready for another time, I try to use a clean box. And since I work at a school cafeteria, I try to get the tomato boxes that we have. And when we're done with the tomatoes, I just clean the box out really good and I bring it home because those are really nice, heavy, sturdy boxes. And most of them come with lids. And then let me get my funnel for this. I bring them home and I put them upside down. All right, now I can add more juice to this one. That's a wider jar for some reason. I don't know why that is so weird. I don't know if the wide mouth jars are just different. Now, one lady I was watching, she was doing pints. She didn't fill her juice to 1 inch. She went just under the 1 inch. She was worried about them, I guess, worrying about them siphoning or something. All right, got that fixed. Check this jar, make sure there's nothing there. Nope. It's another wide mouth. Just rinse this real good. Turn this up on high. Turn my burner up on high. Just gonna wipe my lid off. I've got some stuff. Check this bolt. Make sure that's tight. Gonna line up my arrows. There's an arrow on the lid. There's an arrow on the handles. So we want to line those up. It fits tight. Close it. I got my burner up on high. I'm going to let this come to a boil and start steaming. That's going to steam for 10 minutes. Oh, That's going to steam for 10 minutes. And then after the 10 minutes, I'm going to put my gauge regulator, my weight regulator. This is a 15-pound weight regulator. And then I'm going to watch my gauge to go to 10 pounds pressure. 11 pounds I might read. As long as you keep it between 10 and 15 pounds. You don't want it to be any higher than that. Then you set your timer. I'll set my timer for 90 minutes. And then I'll let those process. And then I'll come back for baked beans part 2 to show you the final result of that. Once your timer is up on your time, you turn it off and you leave it alone. It takes about 30 to 35 minutes for it to depressurize. Once your canner depressurizes and your gauge is set at 0 and there's no more air in there, you can push. There's a little hammer in the back that raises up, and when the pressure comes out, it falls down. There's another little button you can tap on if there's no air that comes out. Then and only then can you remove this, take your lid off, open it away from you, and then set your lid down and let those jars sit in there for another 5 to 10 minutes to kind of like chill out. Then you can remove them from your canner, set them on a towel, or so I always put it on a towel or a mat or something, and then just let them sit there until they are completely cooled. I left the chicken sit here for 24 hours yesterday. It just sat there. I put it away this morning. Then you can label your jars and put them in your storage. So when these are done, I will come back for part 2 of baked beans, and we'll see how they turn out. We'll see how they look. In the meantime, I got to figure out what am I going to do with this juice. It smells really good. Maybe I will put it in a couple of jars and mark it and save it. Put it in the refrigerator or something. I don't want to throw it away. That's money. But I am going to make notes on this recipe because maybe she used the rest of this juice when she made her baked beans that day for her family. I don't know. So, but there's a lot in here. There's maybe a quarter of this pan. So I'm not going to dump it down the drain. I'm going to keep it. Just have to, use it for something else. I'll have to figure out what I can use it for. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I'm kind of glad I had a couple of mishaps happen today so you could see what to do to fix it, I had 2 mishaps. I broke a jar. And I already had a jar that was cracked that I wasn't sure about. And then I had a jar that didn't fit the rings. So, and that's that Eagle Mason jar. Well, if you can't use it, what good is it? I know it's a cool looking jar. It's old. You don't see very many of these anymore. Maybe that's why. But I can't use it. If I can't get a ring and a lid to fit it, I can't use it. So in the recycling it goes. I don't need to sit here and look at a jar I can't use. So anyway, have an awesome afternoon, everybody. And I will catch you right back here for part 2 later on. I hope you subscribe. And if you've already subscribed, thank you very much. Share me around with your friends. That'll help me out. And have a great day until we meet up again. Talk to you soon. Bye.